All right, USC finished up spring practice on Saturday. 15 practices. They went 3 times a week with a week off during their spring break. And so now, after what I felt was a really, really good spring ball session of the 15 practices, it just felt a lot different than last year. The energy was high, the intensity, the competitiveness of it, and it looked like the guys were getting coached. It looks like the guys know what they're supposed to do. There's not much indecisiveness, and just the overall vibe just looked really, really good. But now USC is, and all colleges are going to hit the road recruiting. April 15th to May 31st is what we call the spring evaluation period, when assistant coaches are permitted to go visit high schools. So USC is not visiting anybody this week. There's still some spring breaks going on. Not only that, there's a lot of the high schools are not practicing this week because they start spring ball next week, and it's mandated they take a couple of weeks off this time of year anyway, or during the year. And so, like Narbonne, Bosco, Mater Dei, for example, are really not practicing. I think Mater Dei might be. So they're going to hit the road next week, and USC is going to start off by staying local, seeing the schools in Southern California. They'll be up in Northern California. They'll be in Arizona. I believe they'll also be back east in the DC metro area, maybe Baltimore. So what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of throw out a few names of the guys, the top targets right now, guys maybe with offers. If I can think of it, I got the sun shining in my eyes. If I can think about it, we'll talk about some guys I think maybe they should offer. But we'll start with quarterback, and USC has a commitment right now who I feel is the top quarterback in the country, and Bryce Young. Bryce is a guy that can make all the throws. He's extremely bright. His approach is not like a high school player. He's approached his final 2 years of high school as if he's in college and working towards the end goal, which is to go beyond USC and play in the NFL. And I think Bryce is somebody who athletically can do stuff that maybe USC's had some quarterbacks that can do, but the combination of him being able to make all the throws and that athleticism, being able to prolong plays, is just extraordinarily unique. And so they have a commitment from Bryce Young. A running back situation, USC only brought in one in Keenan Christon this past year. They'll be losing Vavai, potentially Stephen Carr after this season. So they're low on running backs, and they need to bring in 2 or 3 in this recruiting class. The guy I like a lot, maybe the best that I've seen anyway, is Bijan Robinson from South Point Catholic in Tucson, Arizona. He's kind of at a point right now where he's just kind of waiting to see what USC's offense looks like. I know he likes USC. I know USC has been a school he's liked for a long time. But this past season was a big blow to USC. One season shouldn't eliminate recruits from having you in their top 15 or top 16. Like some guys, it's kind of surprising, but it is what it is. So now USC has to regroup, go out and recruit, and sell USC football, the university, what the value of a degree from USC means, and get them on campus. The most important thing is getting them on campus instead of them listening to coaches from UCLA, Oregon, Washington, Arizona State, and so on, talking about how bad USC is and how they've fallen and they can't get up type of situation. Which, it doesn't matter if that's the case or not. If the kids believe that USC is a program that's not a good place to be right now, it's USC's job to go tell them and convince them otherwise. So that's kind of where they're at with some guys. I don't want to make it sound like that's collectively all recruits have that mindset, but there are some, and I think Bijan is one of those. Sam Adams from Washington. This is another guy. If you're talking about the mental makeup combined with the talent on the football field, both Bijan and Sam Adams are great prospects. You just can't go wrong with those guys. But there's a lot of guys that are I think, prospects-wise, when you combine the fit they would be at a school like USC or on the West Coast, plus the direction of the football program right now offensively. You're looking at Ty Jordan from Texas, who visited USC and said he'll be back for another visit in June. This is a guy that is not as highly ranked as others. He may even be ranked a 3-star right now, but this is an electrifying athlete. What he can do east, west, and north, south is something to watch. So, and plus he's an exceptional pass catcher. So is Bijan and Sam Adams. I forgot to mention that they are extremely talented pass catchers, which is important, right? Now Mike Jinks, he's looking for running backs that can run the ball, catch the ball, and protect the quarterback. So the protecting the quarterback part, sometimes these high school running backs just don't. They're just really not taught that part of the game. That's not an important aspect of their game in high school. So Seth McGowan from Texas. In fact, from the same town as Ty Jordan in Mesquite, Texas. He said he's definitely going to visit USC. His interest level is pretty high. He's from Mesquite, Texas, both he and Ty Jordan. And then there's the top running back in the country, Zach Evans, also from Texas. He tells me that he doesn't have anything set up, but he's going to take an official visit to USC. So this is something to monitor. I think with Mike Jinks having his 22 years ties as a high school coach in Texas, and then of course he went on to be a running backs coach, receivers coach, offensive coordinator, and head coach at Bowling Green. I think those Texas ties are really going to come into play with the relationships he was able to develop over the year and with the coaches there knowing who he is. So there's a running back from Ohio, down the street from Ohio State, Mike Drennan. 4-star running back, Under Armour All-American, 40 offers, I think. He would love USC to offer him a scholarship. He has actually, in fact, contacted me numerous times to wonder if I've heard anything. And so he at least wants to come out here and see USC. So we'll see. USC's limited on the number of spots they have, so that's kind of where we're at right now. We can mention a lot of names. There's only a few spots they have, so they at least need to know they really like the guy, and they need to know the interest level is extremely high as well. So Mookie Cooper's another guy. I think he's a receiver, but I think he could play running back. He's just he's an extraordinarily gifted athlete. He's from St. Louis, Missouri. Receivers. USC has a commitment from Narbonne, 4-star Narbonne receiver, Josh Jackson, who I love. Has a lot of Juju Smith in his game. He doesn't like when I say that, but it is what it is. And so they're probably going to take 4 receivers. So there's one guy on the West Coast that's not committed to a school right now that is a must-get, and that's Gary Bryant Jr. from Centennial High School. And I think right now, if I had to bet, which I think I predicted him to end up at USC. So this is a guy that can catch balls. He's electrifying, athletic, acrobatic, but he can also make the simple catches. He can go dive for a 4-yard first down pass. Plus, he's a great kid from a great family. Jalen McMillan. He's been to USC. I think it was kind of a little bit of a disappointing visit that he had. I don't think he felt like maybe the attention was there. I don't think he felt like he was a priority. I'm not sure. I think they've kind of fixed that now. So we'll see if he comes down for a visit. But this is another West Coast guy that is exceptionally talented. If USC was able to bring in Josh Jackson, Jalen McMillan, and Gary Bryant Jr., and then there's another receiver that's at Narbonne now, Trayshawn Holden, transferring from St. Francis Academy, I think. I'm not sure if it's Academy. Anyway, St. Francis in Baltimore. He's committed to Alabama. He's out here on the West Coast. He's had high interest in USC for a long, long time, but USC just kind of, he would send messages or try and get in contact with the USC and was unable to. So 3 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, USC offered. Now he's on the West Coast. We'll see how that turns out with USC. But I do think that USC has a pretty darn good chance of at least making it interesting all the way down the stretch, if not get him altogether. So other receivers, the number 1 receiver in the country, depending on what ranking service you're using, Raheem Jarrett from St. John's College High School in Washington, D.C. You don't hear USC mentioned in maybe articles or maybe on social media or anywhere as being a school that he's interested in. He assures me USC is a school he will come visit and is a school he definitely has interest in. Whether that translates to the interest being high enough to get him out to Southern California to go to school, we don't know. But, the recruiting process is just kind of getting started right now with the May evaluation period. Then you have camps in June. So we'll see who visits. We'll see what kind of mark USC is able to make during the next 7 weeks when they're on the road visiting high schools, and they're able to have more communication. At least they're able to initiate verbal contact and so on now, where they weren't the past few months. LV Bunkley Shelton has an offer from Sarah High School in Gardena, another extremely talented guy, just knows how to run routes, get open, catch balls, just a very consistent player. And Logan Loya from St. John Bosco is a lot like that too. These guys just get open and they catch passes. And sometimes you have all these acrobatic receivers, you have these guys that are really, really fast, but you need to have the guys that are just hauling in a bunch of passes. And those two guys fit that mold for sure. Offensive line, we're looking at Miles Morale from Mater Dei, Drake Metcalf from St. John Bosco, Jonah Monheim from Moore Park, Alex Harrison from Bountiful, Utah. He's visited. He said he can't wait to come back to USC for an official visit after the season. Tosh Baker from Pinnacle High School in Phoenix. He visited last month. Believe he's planning on coming back for another visit. Levi Rogers from Washington was just at USC last week, I believe on Saturday, in fact. He says he'll be back for another visit, not sure when. And then you had JC, 6'7", 380-pound offensive lineman from Riverside City College, Kevin Brown, played at Centennial High School. If he can get things squared away academically and be ready, this could be a big-time pickup for USC, because I know his interest is very, very high. Defensive line, I think we're going to kind of figure out what's going to happen with the defensive line recruiting after the evaluation period more than we know now. Maybe after the camp season when USC is able to see the guys in person. But you've got Jason Harris from Gilbert High School in the Phoenix area. He's also a big-time basketball player. He hasn't visited USC recently, or I'm not sure if he ever has. I should know this because I just visited him a couple weeks ago. He says he plans on visiting USC, and I'm sure they're going to make it a point to convince him to get on campus more than one time. But this is a big-time, high 4-star rated guy. Sorry, I've got allergies still from that wind that came in a few weeks ago. But Jordan Berry, committed to LSU. He's at Narbonne. He and his mom have visited USC twice in the last couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks. And it's another kid. I think he's somebody that USC could possibly get. There's no reason for him to keep visiting USC with his mother. USC is a school that would allow him to stay local, stay on the West Coast. When it comes time to make a decision on a school and actually sign the letter of intent, that stuff gets factored in a lot more than traveling to Baton Rouge or traveling to other places in the country and having a great 2 days. Then you have Xavier Carlton from Northern California. I know his interest is pretty high in USC. So Marlon Tui Pelotu's brother, Tuli, from Lawndale High School, another very talented football player. And you would think that his interest in USC is going to be high enough to make him somebody that considers the Trojans all the way to the end. Jordan Butler, kid from IMG. He was committed to Georgia at one time. I talked to him in January at the Under Armour Future 50 Media Day. He wants to come out here for a visit. He has interest in USC. So you got Jamar Sakona, and there are other guys too. But I mean, honestly, it's a matter of going through this evaluation period and through the summer on USC being able to identify guys that they are able to put their eyeballs on, instead of going off rankings and just offering every kid that's ranked high. I think with the offensive lineman, I forgot to mention Justin Rogers, long shot, but Tim Drevno's been recruiting him since he was coaching with Harbaugh in Michigan, and he's from Michigan. He said he wanted to visit USC and take an official visit. I haven't heard back from him today. I just sent him a text to see if he's still considering doing that. We'll hopefully have an update on that at some point. Linebackers, Justin Flo. It's Justin Flo and pretty much everybody else, I think, the way perception is. Although, guys like Jordan Botello from Hawaii and Nick Herbig from Hawaii, same school, St. Louis High School. Talk about talent at one high school. It's impressive what they have at St. Louis. These guys are big-time linebackers. Everybody's in love with Justin Flo, and who wouldn't be? Justin Flo was a linebacker that guys that were seniors 2 years ago were talking about, that he was the guy. So you've got Noah Sewell. His brother's at Oregon. USC kind of blew their chances with Panay during the recruiting process, but, I think Noah, I would say Oregon's probably the school to beat, but if he comes back to USC this summer, that will be indication that there's real interest in the Trojans. Savell Smalls from Washington does not have USC in his top 36, whatever number what top schools he has, 16, 14. We'll see if he visits. At one time, USC was the school that he was thinking he was going to end up at. USC has a bad season. He gets wined and dined by a bunch of schools on unofficial visits, which is what I would do if I was a 5-star prospect. And there's a lot of schools that are great options. But it's hard to believe that USC can't get back into it with Savell. So we'll see about that one. I mentioned Damian Sellers from Saguaro High School. Court Williams from Bosco. This is another kid who just seems like he's not ranked high enough. This kid is big-time talent, and he's a big-time kid off the field, which, you really have to start considering that as coaches. You just can't take a highly ranked kid, have these guys come in, all be individuals, and have it not work out. You got to have the character of these kids that's going to fit with your program. I'm not saying you have to have Mr. Rogers on your football team, but so those are the guys right now. Linebacker, you got cornerbacks. You've got Darion Green-Warren. You've got Aiden Hector from Washington, from Eastside Catholic up in Washington. You've got Elias Ricks, who's going to make he's going to make a statement this weekend or this week or maybe next week on what's going on, what's the latest with him. Stay tuned to that. But cornerback-wise, I think that's another position they're going to identify some guys. They've offered Keely Ringo. I do believe he's a safety ultimately when he moves on to college, but he's really not considering USC anyway. So, at safety, you've got Lathan Ransom from Sal Point Catholic in Tucson, Arizona, like Bijan Robinson. He doesn't have USC in his top schools either, but I think he's considering USC. He's got family in LA. Wouldn't surprise me. Actually, would surprise me if he doesn't visit this summer. But he's feeling UCLA. He and Bijan both liked UCLA a lot when they visited. They did a really good job when they visited of selling the program. You've got Xavier Alford from Texas. He came to USC, got an offer. He got an offer before he came to USC, actually, for his visit. I'm not quite sure where his interest in it. It would be surprising with all the offers that he has that he ends up on the West Coast. Probably Oregon might be a school he would consider more. And I should move back to quarterback. You've got Dwight McLaughlin from Houston, Texas. It wouldn't surprise me if he ends up on the West Coast. He's got kind of a personality that would fit out here. He's a serious kid, but he's also kind of like one of those fun-loving guys that you get him out here, he'll be a guy it's fun to be around for his teammates. So I'm sure I'm missing some guys because I was trying to put together a list, but you're kind of getting the idea. The USC's going on the road right now. Alakai Gilman also is another prospect from Hawaii to keep an eye on. This is another guy that's not ranked really high, but this is a really good football player. There's a lot of them in Hawaii. It's we're talking about Mikhail. I can't remember his last name, and you can slap me when you see me next time, Mikhail. But he's from Hawaii also, and there's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of talent in Arizona right now. A lot of Nevada. That's one of the top tight ends that USC's looking at. Darnell Washington, Jack Yeary from Temecula, another tight end. DJ Rogers from Eastside Catholic up in Washington. So that's kind of like a brief overview of what's going on as they're heading into the spring evaluation period, the Trojans. So we'll keep you updated. We'll try and do a podcast every week. I'm going to hit the road, kind of go where the USC coaches are going, and just kind of report and give a different perspective on what's going on with USC recruiting. Anyway, I'm Scott Schrader here at the beautiful University of Southern California.